Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at whether the next 8 to 10 days in today's video. This will take us to around the 19th of May, so going into the second half of the month. Fairly mixed conditions coming up this week. Starting off very warm, but it's going to get a bit cold as we get through towards the end of the week. Beyond that, there's a bit of uncertainty between the GFS and the ECWF about where things are going for next week, and I'll show you why in a second. The GFS is just hinting up the Atlantic, perhaps starting to get itself going again. ECM not quite so interested, so I'll show you the charts in a second, but there is uncertainty for next week. Before I get on with that though, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse through widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. Thanks very much for doing that. This video adds on most pages. You say, oh no, the content when you want to close back up again. Helps to pay for the website. There's going to be rain coming up from the south this evening. Something could be quite heavy and lasting into tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be particularly thundery though, so I probably won't be updating Stormwatch today. I'll keep an eye on it. If there is anything sparking off in the south, I'll do a Stormwatch update. But at the moment, it looks more sort of general rain as opposed to thunderstorms. But I will be keeping an eye on it. Right, let's get on with the video then, and we're going to start off with 500 millibar height anomalies. We've got the ECWF on the top, the GFS is on the bottom, and we'll have a look at that in a second. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet, this is an area in the atmosphere where high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by a jet stream running above. Red extrapolates to high pressure, blue to low pressure. So the ECWF has this ridge extending in from the Atlantic, from the Azores, in 8 to 10 days time. So say this takes into the second half of the month. The trough is across central parts of Europe and also up over Greenland and Iceland. But jet stream generally a bit to the north of us as well. So there is quite an influence there by this ridge building up from the Azores High. But the GFS is very different. Look at this, deep blue colours in there across the UK and much of Western Europe. The Azores High is pushed quite a long way down to the south, and there's more low pressure in the Atlantic as well, waiting in the wings. The isobars indicated by the jet stream, I should say, indicated by the tight lines, the isobars coming in across the Atlantic into Western Europe as well. So this is a much more unsettled scenario from the GFS compared to the ECWF for next week. This will really bring the Atlantic back in and bring bouts of rain through the country. So have a look at the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles the next couple of weeks. But dealing with temperatures first of all, the red line here is the 30-year temperature average, so still very significantly above average at the moment. Temperature set to drop at the end of the week and into the weekend, becoming quite chilly, although maybe not quite as cold as it looked like it was going to be a couple of days ago. The worst of that northerly wind at the end of the week, probably going into Central Europe, actually. But it is going to certainly turn significantly cooler as we get through to the end of the week. Then, after that, it looks like temperatures stage a little bit of a recovery again as we go through to the end of May. These are the dates on the bottom of the chart just here. So a bit up and down with the temperatures, but overall probably for the next couple of weeks averaging out a little bit above average. The precipitation shows that we've got risk of rain, maybe a bit thundery, some of that rain tonight, tomorrow, so that could be lasting into Wednesday as well. But it's a bit drier with this drop in the temperature, though there are still showers coming through. And then next week it looks like we bring the rainfall spikes back through again. But not with conviction, so maybe that very unsettled GFS run that we had this morning isn't all that well supported by its ensemble. The temperature anomaly for the coming week, this is going from the 19th to the 17th of May, generally about average, the south a little bit above, the northeast maybe even a little bit below, but overall not deviating too far from average. Many parts of Europe looking a bit colder than average, interestingly. The precipitation anomaly, very interesting this one. It shows the north-south split, and usually the north comes out significantly drier than average and the south comes out a bit wetter than average. You don't often see that, but from the 9th through to the 17th of May, it's the north that's getting the best of the dry weather. These are the generic charts then, and the GFS model has that high pressure starting to set up around Iceland again on Friday, beginning to switch the winds back into the north and the northeast. That coming right through the country to go through into Saturday. Again, high pressure to the northwest, low pressure across Scandinavia and bring down this northerly wind. The worst of the cold air just missing us though. Does get close to the east coast, but generally it's running down the North Sea and into central parts of Europe. But certainly a drop in the temperatures suggested there, even if it's not quite as cold as it looked like it would be when I did the week ahead forecast on Saturday. Go through to Sunday, a ridge begins to build in off the Atlantic, and that stays with us into the start of next week. But then these areas of low pressure start to advance in off the Atlantic. So this is another really unsettled run from the GFS model, with this low pressure coming through the country Tuesday to Wednesday, bringing quite a lot of heavy rain. Then a slight transient ridge builds across the country at day 10, but there's more low pressure here in the Atlantic waiting in the wing, so I think this little ridge just here, its days would be numbered as these low pressures and the jet stream attendant with it start to move in from the west. So the Atlantic is definitely breaking through with the GFS this morning. Not quite so much with the ECMWF, however. There's the northerly northeast wind on Friday, bringing cooler air down across the country. We're all within a cooler air mass on Saturday. Then the ridge builds in to the west as we go through Sunday into the start of next week. Still got low pressure around Denmark, so we're still bringing the winds down from the north. However, this ridge does exert its influence through next week from the Azores high, so it does turn quite settled really as we go through next week, and we end up on day 10, which is Thursday the 19th of May, with quite a lot of high pressure through the country. These areas of low pressure are out to the north and west, still more or less being blocked by this ridge, but jet stream doing something like that, and we remain more or less, quite a close one thing, but more or less still within the ridge of high pressure, whereas the GFS is definitely breaking things down next week and looks a lot more unsettled, and probably an extended spell of unsettled weather from the GFS as well. So quite where things are going next week, I'm not sure. It certainly looks like we're going to get a cooler phase coming up at the end of this week and into the weekend, although not particularly unsettled. There'll still be quite a bit of dry weather around. And then next week, it really is on a knife edge between whether we keep it mainly dry and probably start to warm things up a bit again, or whether we unleash the Atlantic, bring the westerlies through and turn it quite wet through the course of next week. I'll have to keep you posted on that, so keep checking back. Right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.